Hello, 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 and welcome to our combo card this time around is another Ikoria card, Garuda, Doom of Depths. But today, we're doing something a little different. In Legacy, Garuda is making waves. So we're going to look at how a Garuda deck can combo off on turn 1 in Legacy. And then we'll talk about how this combo can still be done in EDH. So Garuda is a 6/6 Demon Kraken companion creature for 4 and 2 blue or black. Now, companion is a new mechanic from Ikoria that basically allows you to have one creature outside of the game that you can cast like it's in your hand, but only if you meet its deck building requirement. For Garuda to be your companion, you need your deck to only have cards with an even converted mana cost. Garuda also has an enter the battlefield effect that says when it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. You get to put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So the Legacy deck uses Garuda as a companion, which means all the cards in the deck have to have an even converted mana cost. And the deck has the potential to win on turn 1 by playing Garuda on turn 1. Thanks to a very efficient mana rock, Lion's Eye Diamond. A 0 cost artifact that says you can sack it and discard your hand to make 3 mana of any one color. So if you have 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds in your opening hand, you can play both of them, crack both of them, discarding your hand twice in the process, and making 3 mana of any one color twice. So here in this case, we'll make 6 blue mana. Now, because Garuda is basically a free card thanks to Companion, we can play Garuda from outside of the game with that 6 blue mana. Now this is where a bit of luck comes in. Garuda's enter the battlefield effect triggers, each player mills 4 cards, and we get a creature with an even converted mana cost. We don't really care about any creatures our opponents mill, but we care a lot about the creatures we mill because our deck is chock full of clone creatures, which are creatures that enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature on the battlefield. So if we are fortunate enough to mill a clone creature, we can bring it back to the battlefield and have it enter as Garuda. Because of the legendary rule, we will have to sack one of our Garudas, but the clone entering as Garuda will still start the process again, because when it enters, it triggers as Garuda and makes each player mill 4 cards. Hopefully because of that, we hit another clone and have it enter as a copy of Garuda and do the process again. The goal of this is that hopefully we can do this enough that we make our opponent mill their whole deck into their graveyard. Then we can pass the turn and our opponent loses from trying to draw a card off an empty library. So this strategy is a bit of a glass cannon. There's a lot that can go wrong, but we do have some failsafes just in case we don't hit our chain of clone creatures. Some of the clones we have added effects, like Dax Duplicate, which has haste. So if we do miss a clone creature while we're doing this, at least we can still swing with our 6/6 on turn 1. Spark Double is another clone with a catch. It will enter as Garuda, but it won't be a legendary creature. So we get to keep both of our Garudas and not have to sack one to the legendary rule. Also, any other future clones that enter can copy the non-legendary Garuda, allowing us to keep them all. Progenitor Mimic is another clone that creates a copy of itself at the beginning of your upkeep. So if you run dry on clones, the Mimic will restart the milling process at the start of your next turn when it creates a token of itself. Similarly, with your clones, you can run creatures that will blink another creature when they enter the battlefield. Both Felidar Guardian and Restoration Angel exile a creature and return it to the battlefield when they enter the battlefield. This means, when they enter the battlefield, you can blink Garuda, making each player mill 4 cards. Now, one cool part about Garuda is that because of the way Garuda is worded, cards that exile cards instead of putting them into the graveyard, like Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace, don't actually stop this combo. Yes, the cards still get exiled, but you still get to pick a creature from among those cards to bring back to the battlefield. And that's the new combo deck in Legacy, using Garuda. Now before we move on to EDH stuff, I'm gonna repeat that I don't play Legacy. So if I missed an important part of the deck and you respond with a comment like,
"Actually, you run this card because if you don't and your opponent has 3.5 mana up, they get to stab you in your eyeballs with Mox Diamonds,"
That's not going to be some big knowledgeable victory for you because I don't know the fucking ins and outs of Legacy. But if you are commenting, only about 10% of my viewers are subbed, so hit that sub button while you're commenting. It's not a blood oath, so you can always undo it later if you don't like me anymore. On to EDH, the true question, can you do this combo in EDH? Hell yes. Will you be able to do it on turn 1? Hell no. Yes, Garuda can be your commander, and if he is your commander, you don't need every card in your deck to have an even converted mana cost, but it does help. He can also be your 101st card of your deck as a companion, which means that you would need to follow his requirements, but you could have a 3, 4, 5 color deck with a different commander and just have him as a companion. There are a lot of even costed clone cards and blink cards, and since there are 4 players in EDH game, you get to make all those players mill and you get the benefit of all those players' decks as well. You're not in a big rush to win in EDH like you are in Legacy. So you can use slower cards like the Scarab God, which can bring back clones from your graveyard to enter as Garuda, or Mimic that you can exile Garuda with to constantly make tokens of on each of your turns. Or Feldon, if Garuda is in your graveyard, you can make a copy of him with Feldon on each of your turns. Or, as mentioned, you could just try to jam all of the even costed clones into a deck and hopefully chain it all together for a win. This is all a possibility in EDH. Anyways, how do you guys feel about Garuda? For the record, I did not come up with this Legacy combo. The oldest mention I found of it was by the Blue Mana God on April 13th. I'll put his deck in the description down below. In honesty, I actually overlooked this card. I didn't think much of it. But here we are talking about it on a combo video. So we're not all right sometimes. Let me know down below if you're going to use Garuda in any format. And the next time you need another combo, come back here to Combo Breakdown.